I'll go heavy running back. And
You're listening to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show with your hosts, the Fantasy Insider, Matt Brick, the Commish, Henry Brick, and the Doctor, Jeff Hathcock.
Good evening. Welcome to the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. I am Matt Brick. I'm here with my co-hosts, Henry Brick, the Commish, and Jeff Hathcock with no PhD. All right, well, boys, we just had our draft weekend. Football is coming in 2 nights, which is excellent. We've been waiting a long time. This week we got the stardom and sit-em for week 1, which is very exciting. We're going to talk about our draft, and we'll get right into the news real quick. All right, so first and foremost, Matthew Stafford is expected to play week 1. Marvin Mims Jr. practiced Monday. He was out with a groin, but he did practice Monday. Najee Harris is clear for contact. Juwan Jennings practiced, so that's good. That's very good. Devon Achane is ready for week 1, and Quinshon Judkins could be back with the team as soon as this week. If that does happen, I don't think it's a great start this week, even if he does sign, because he's probably going to be very limited. So I would sit Quinshon Judkins if you do have him. And Jackson Lazar is listed as the quarterback 2 on the depth chart over Jameson Williams. So that's all the news I have. Have you guys heard anything other than that?
No, I mean, listen, this is the time of the year where it's, we're days away, and every little piece you're going to hear something here and there. We've already drafted, we've got our guys locked in. Now it's the time to just hold on and enjoy that ride.
I got a little news. 2 days, the Birds go up against the Cowboys. What? Football's back. Let's go.
Just exciting times, gentlemen.
Yeah, man,
all right.
Can't wait.
Let's get right into our stardom sit-em. Jeff, why don't you start, my friend?
Yeah. So for me, listen, I actually just drafted this guy in our auction league that we have got him for $1. I've got Michael Penix. We only got a small glimpse of him last year as a starter, but in those 3 games, his production ramped up, and it's culminating in a QB6 finish in Week 18. In his first start as a sophomore, he'll draw one of his easiest matchups of the year, which is against the division rival Buccaneers, which is a pass funnel defense, and that's allowed the 4th most fantasy points in quarterbacks for 2024. Last year, with that same offense with Kirk Cousins, he threw for the 2 games 785 yards and 8 touchdowns over his 2 matchups, finishing as a top 3 fantasy UB both weeks. And honestly, those were pretty much the only weeks where he was worth anything. With Darnell Mooney back at practice, there's a chance Penix is going to have just a full complement of weapons in the opener. I love Drake London. I think Bijan's going to get involved as well. So I've got him as a QB2 with QB1 upside this week, especially if it's a shootout. And then on the flip side, Emeka Egbuka. If you're looking to jump on that hype train, it's too late. You've missed it because it's here. He's going to quickly ascend to a fan favorite in a crowded depth chart. But right now, it's just a clear-cut number 2 receiver behind Mike Evans. With the Buccaneers dealing with their injuries, I love his talent. It's undeniable, and he's consistently produced flashes of immense potential throughout training camp. Like, the guys just look good. He's there was a lot of talk that he was the most NFL-ready rookie wide receiver of this class, and that's including the likes of Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Tedoroa McMillan. I think the Rook is going to step up immediately. He's going to be a strong target for Baker. And, fresh off of his best season as a quarterback, I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I think, especially with this division game, these guys had 2 shootouts last year. All signs are pointing up for Egbuka's fantasy prospects. And then one of my favorite mid-round targets at tight end, David Njoku. I think there's just a strong chance that nobody's going to benefit more from Joe Flacco than David Njoku. As long as Flacco's under center, it's great for him. Back in 2023, Flacco took over, and then within the last 5 weeks, Njoku played 4 of them, and in those contexts, he was recording the most fantasy points over that 4-game span of any tight end by a massive margin. The veteran doesn't appear to have lost a single step since then. He's heading into his 9th NFL season. He's best friends. He's buddies with Flacco. I've been seeing, them in the sidelines. There was talk of him really wanting Flacco to be his quarterback, and now he is. So I think that's just sky's the limit. Oh, and by the way, they're going up against Cincinnati, who do they got on defense besides Stray? Like, they've got nothing. I think it's going to be a very high flying offense. At least for that first game, I got Njoku. He's going to be the benefit of. He's going to benefit a lot from Flacco being under center for sure.
Man, just to piggyback that, Jeff, I also have Njoku, but I love Flacco this week because Bengals offense is just going to be on fire, and they're just going to have to pass the ball. And I think Njoku is going to, like you were saying, going to be the big beneficiary for sure. I also like Jerome Ford in that game. I know a lot of people are probably, Judkins, he may be with the team this week. We heard that in the news earlier today, but even if he does, I don't think he even sees week 1 snaps at all. So Jerome Ford against basically a nothing defense with the Bengals could put up some big numbers. At quarterback, I'm loving Trevor Lawrence at home this week against the weak secondary with that Carolina Panthers team. I love the stack with him and Brian Thomas. I actually got Brian Thomas in our auction league this week. I'm pretty excited about that. He put up big numbers last year, and I think he continues to do that this year. At least there's another threat on the other side of him this year that I think will actually just help boost his numbers, big time. Sticking with the quarterback and receiver stacks, how about little Kyler Murray and with the Maserati Marv stack? Okay, they're going up against the Saints, who has 0 secondary over there. I think we're going to see some big numbers. These are great stacks to not only use with your regular fantasy leagues, but I also love them in DFS play this week.
All right, that leaves me for my stardom of the weeks. For my stardom, I have Dak Prescott against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, I know they're going to probably be down a lot in this game, so I think they're going to be forced to pass the ball. I think Micah Parsons is really going to let Philly start to, put some points up on them early. So I think Dak is going to be forced to throw the ball because they will be playing down, and that'll be explained later with my sit-em pick. But I like, as much as it is a tough matchup, I think, but I think Pickens and Lamb can get some fantasy points on Thursday night. I also have Dylan Sampson, who you just talked about earlier, the commish Ford. I think Sampson could also have a decent snap count against the Bengals Sunday. The Bengals allowed 124.8 rushing yards per game last year. That's rushing yards, which was 19th in the NFL. So I think Sampson could have a good game. My last stardom this week is Travion Henderson. I think he could have a decent rookie debut against the Raiders. I know that the Raiders were 12th against the run last year, but I think he can get involved in the passing game as well. So I like Travion Henderson. All right. Why don't we start with our sit-ems? Henry, why don't you start?
All right, Matt. My sit-ems of the week. All right. This, I know Jeff may not agree with very much, but James Conner. I think they get up so big in this game, Arizona. We're going to see a little bit of Trey Benson, sadly, and that's why, not because I think James Conner's old and decrepit and, should hopefully get out of that walking boot soon. But I think because of the game flow, they're going to be up so big, they'll be able to sit Conner and see a little Trey Benson. Also, Tony Pollard. goes up against Denver this week. Denver, who finished second in the league in yards per carry last year, 3.9 yards per carry. So I'm not looking for a big Pollard game. So if you have a better option there at running back, I would definitely take a look at it. And you guys both know I've been high on Amari and Hampton all preseason, but he does go up against the Chiefs. They give up the fewest fantasy points per game for a running back last year, plus the games in Brazil. I don't like these out-of-country games. Not everyone plays the snuff. So I'm not looking for big things from Hampton, especially as a rookie, and plus the one-eye running back is going to be playing from what I understand, right? Okay, and then last, and another guy super high on all year, all preseason, Calvin Ridley. He goes and faces Patrick Surtain this week in Denver, right? So, they finished second in passing yards allowed last year, and obviously Surtain was a big part of that. So, I don't see how you could sit Calvin Ridley, but you definitely got to temper your expectations, for sure this week. It's a shame because he's in a great situation.
Jeff, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, Henry, it sounds like you don't want to play against the Denver defense. That's what I'm hearing, and I totally agree with it. I mean, whether it's on the ground or through the air, like that defense is very strong. So I'm 100% with you. If I can definitely sit those guys if I have them. I mean, I did pick up Pollard in 2 leagues, and he's a flex spot for me. But right now I'm sitting him because I don't want any part of that Denver defense. But yeah, for me, I know Dak. Matt said Dak is going to have himself a nice Thursday night. But for me, now this sit pick isn't indicative of just my season-long fantasy projections for George Pickens. But I am not super confident in that Philly defense. Being able to for Dak, CD, and Pickens. Like I just think it's going to be an overall down thing. There's no Micah Parsons. There's no defense on Dallas' side. I think it's going to be, one of those kind of grind them out games. If Saquon takes over and there's a big discrepancy in the score in the first half, like the Eagles did so many times last year, when they're up, they will just run the ball, kill the clock, and they will just walk away with an easy dub. Not to mention, Dak Prescott is the most talented quarterback that he's caught passes from for Pickens, but they haven't been in sync during the preseason. There's been a chunk of the preseason where they've had flashes, but I think it still needs to be fine-tuned. They're just starting to play with each other. Everything's still new for them. But maybe I'll be surprised, but I'm just, for this game in particular, I'm not too high on George Pickens. I try to sit him if you could, get someone else in there at a flex spot. But again, for season long, I think he's going to smash. I think he's going to have the best season of his career, just not this game. And then on the flip side, Jonnu Smith is, he's fresh off his monstrous year when he finished as the PPR tight end 4. Finally showcasing all that elite playmaking ability that he saw back in his early years with the Titans. I'll bet a lot of it was just due to Tua's head injuries, those concerns. The offensive line was struggling, and Miami needed to get the ball out of Tua's hands quickly, and he was the beneficiary from that. Sadly, the Dolphins went and they traded him. The Steelers acquired him, and now he has to compete with Pat Freiermuth in an offense that's really, not that all sexy. I mean, there's issues up and down, whether you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers or Arthur Smith's play calling. So for me, he's a sit until proven otherwise. I just, I can't trust him. And that right now, DeAndre Swift, I'm fading him all year. But if you're trying to plug him into a lineup this week, good luck to you. It's just not an ideal matchup right off the bat against the Vikings. Brian Flores has always made a living by selling out to win the battle in the trenches on the line of scrimmage, and the Vikings found plenty of success last year doing so. Minnesota just allowed the second fewest rushing yards, which was 93.2 all year last year. Swift's in a prime position to retain his role as the clear top running back in Chicago, and the Bears appear to have improved on that side of the ball. But this is by no means, a finished product. There's going to be growing pains. There's, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and I think it's going to take Caleb Williams and company a while just to get up to speed. So right now, DeAndre Swift is an absolute fade, especially going up against the division rival in the Vikings. How about you, Matt?
Before I get into my sit-ums, my apologies, I didn't flip the banner, but I would like to play devil's advocate with you, sir. I think that if anything, George Pickens does have a better game than I would say. Pickens probably has a better game than Lamb, because I would say that when Kunyanama Bay would be on Lamb, and the Eagles haven't even announced their corner 2 yet, because they're slating Cooper DeJean to be the nickel. We're looking at either Adoree Jackson or Keely Ringo, who I'm not confident in either one of them. So that's why I think Pickens could have a great game, because if you watched Eagles preseason and you saw how horrible Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson was, then you know really well why I think Pickens could definitely, burn one of them. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Listen,
we'll see.
I hope you're right. Just so it's an interesting first game of the season, I definitely, I hope Dallas comes to play. But I mean, again, it is, as questionable as that secondary might be for guarding Pickens. It's not like your guys' front four isn't shabby, right? I mean,
Right.
They're going to pressure Dak. Dak's not mobile anymore. He's not really running, so I just don't know if he's going to have the time to look for those shots downfield for Pickens, which is, probably where he's going to do most of his damage. But yeah, I mean, I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong, because I would love for a shootout game. I would love for a 34-30 ending down to the wire. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, like you said earlier, it easily could be a time of possession game. Like you said, like if Saquon just ends it early by half, and they're just running the ball out for clock, like totally could happen. So we'll see.
See some Will Shipley.
Definitely see. It'll be interesting to see, because week 1 I feel like teams are normally a little rusty, so it'll be interesting to watch.
But it is Eagles Dallas, right? You never know. These
you never know.
Do
Those
play each
division
other's
games.
tough, no matter what the score is. But they did get rid of Micah Parsons over there, which was idiotic. So
Eagles do like to make it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy.
All right, I'll talk about my sit-ums of the week. Okay, I have. I hate to say it, because I'm a Garrett Wilson owner, but I'm saying to sit Garrett Wilson. He's up against either Joey Porter, Darius Slay, or Jalen Ramsey. My guess is it'll probably be more Porter, maybe a little bit of Slay, but they're pretty decent corners. I think this is a tough matchup for Garrett Wilson and the Jets alone. So I think this is a sit Garrett Wilson week, unfortunately. I mean, we'll see how. Again, this is week 1. I think teams are a little rusty. I think they really do put in the work in training camp, and especially with the practicing with other teams and doing drills with other teams, which I think is great. And I think it totally gets them ready for the regular season, which makes it interesting, because it's what's preseason for them. I guess it's just for the younger guys, but yeah, I'm not thrilled to start Garrett Wilson this week. I'm putting my my tenant is up, and I want to be cautious with Garrett Wilson this week. My next sit is Marvin Mims. I love the matchup this week, Broncos Titans, but I'm going to sit Marvin Mims this week, because I know he just got hurt with that groin injury, and I know he practiced on Monday, which is totally expected and all that. I'm not confident he's 100%. And for that reason, I think I'm going to be sitting him. And last but not least, I'm sitting Javonte Williams. His current over-under for this game is 38.5 yards. That's absolute garbage. And I'm going to take the under, because this Philadelphia Eagles defense is going to absolutely clobber him. So, I mean, that's pretty bad. When you're over under 30.5, it's not looking good for fantasy. So I'm benching him. Like I said earlier, I do think Dallas will be down in this game, and I do think they will be forced to pass the ball. So there may be some garbage time. So start Dak. I mean, obviously you're probably going to start Lamb, because he's one of the best, but Pickens, I mean, I think there's probably Pickens is more of like a flex guy probably this week. And, you might have other guys on your bench that you might want to start over him. But, yeah, don't start Javonte Williams. All right. Why don't we start our are we all good with that? Are we ready to continue?
No, I think so.
Let's go.
All right, let's get into our draft review.
Yes.
I'm going to present the draft board. Hopefully this works. I want to say this is it.
So while you're pulling up the draft board, I'll just share some thoughts about
and there it is.
the auction. So we do
I know it's small to see.
Yeah, we do an auction draft every year. Gosh, I think this might be our 15th year of the auction draft, 25th year of the league, something like that. Everyone loves the auction draft because you have the opportunity to get any player. It's truly probably one of the most fairest ways to do a draft. And the other great thing, I think, guys, and hopefully you'll agree with me, is we all get together to do it. We don't do it online.
Yeah.
So we got together at a brewery. We had some great food. We had some great beer, and we're busting some chops. And it's great just to see everybody and have some fun for 3-4 hours. I thought it was a great day for everyone, and for some of the participants anyway. Some not so much. So I guess I'll start if that's okay with you guys. Like, I was just looking over this draft board, and the one thing I kept saying going into this draft was running backs. And I think, Jeff, I said to you earlier, even I think you had the best running back group in the bunch for sure. And what running backs did you get? Tell everybody.
Yeah, for those who don't know, I mean, I've joined this league. This is my 4th year in the league, and I've had, knock on wood, I've had some great runs. I mean, I've been a playoff contender. I've had, I think, my first season I went like 11-5. I was on fire, but I noticed a trend, and a big trend. The more you get to know your league mates and stuff, just how valuable running backs are. And me personally, I love going wide receiver, especially when I'm playing like Dynasty. Like I will throw my running backs to the wind, and I will pick up garbage, and I will try to get the best wide receivers. But this is, in this sense, it's redraft. It's only 1 year, and then we're done. So for me, I was trying to get value. So right off the board, I mean, I got Derrick Henry, James Conner, Bucky Irving, Tony Pollard, and Kendre Miller, just a little slice of something in case something happens to Kamara. Yeah. But for me, I love James Conner. I think he's a staple of this offense. He's going to get the rock. They love to run the ball. As much as I love Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, that team will run first. And just looking at Derrick Henry, I mean, what negative thing can you say about Derrick Henry? Like, he doesn't catch the ball. Great. How many times in PPR leagues does this guy not catch the ball and he's still top 3 at running backs? He doesn't get hurt. He's just solid. Bucky Irving, I think he's going to take over that backfield entirely. He's just rock solid to me. And then Tony Pollard, same situation. Like, there's no Tyjae Spears for probably 4 to 6 weeks with his injury with the high ankle. And I think he's going to get a lot of volume. And I think that offense over in Tennessee is going to be a lot better than people give them credit for. So for me, it was just a matter of, try to get value where you can. Looking at the board, I see a lot of guys that I had that I had not had as good as the price. And I was getting I got James Conner for $19, and I was seeing other players going for way more, especially people who were in backfields that are muddled and in committees. So for me, I tried to attack the running backs really hard, especially because injuries do happen, and I want to definitely be flexible. And on top of that, Jackson Smith-Njigba and Ladd McConkey as my 2 anchors at wide receiver, like 2 guys that I'm very high on. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I think he was the top 10 wide receiver last year. Ladd McConkey's going into his second year. with a much better offense, I think Keenan Allen is actually going to help him out rather than hurt him, because it's not going to have to be all on Lad to play X and Z and all this other stuff. And then for me, in past years, I usually try to get the best quarterback. I try to go get Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, and end up paying way more money than I should. But I went a different route. Again, I talked about him before. I went with Michael Penix. He was one of my later picks, and I went for Drake May. I spent $2 on both of these guys, so $2 total actually. And then Colston Loveland, he's just a dart throw at tight end. I don't really put much value in tight end in these types of drafts. You have your Brock Bowers and your McBrides, who I think the both of them. I think Bowers went for like $36, and McBride went for $16, which 16 for McBride's not bad, but paying $36 for Bowers to me is insane for just one position. Where I can spread that money around and get a key player like James Conner and then fill out my bench.
But you know what, Jeff, you paying $4 for two your starting running back or quarterbacks. That allowed you in the auction really to get those. You have 4 viable starting running backs, which is really strong, man. So I think that was really, really smart, and I think you had a very successful draft in that respect for sure. But just talking about looking at some drafts that I didn't think were all that great as far as running backs go. Like if you look at the Globo Gym, he's really hurting running back. I mean, he has Gibbs, which, hey, look, we all love Gibbs, monster.
Yeah.
Tyrone Tracy, who I like, but they have Scadaboo. I don't see him lasting the full season at the starter. Maybe he does, but after that, Judkins. There's a lot of question marks there. Maybe with the team this week, may not. Mason, he's a backup, right? So I like him. I like him for the year, for the season, but I don't know. I think that's that's going to be a tough way to start out his year. Look, to me, he's going to have a slow start. And then there's Shake and Bake. Chuba Hubbard, excellent. He got B-Rob, okay? Great player, but he's the backup to CMC, right? Rashad White, he's Rashad out, right? I mean, Bucky Irving is a beast, and he's the guy there. He did get Jerome Ford, which I think is a short-term starter, but again, these guys, I don't know, man. Touchdown there. I was looking at his team. He got Genty, which is great. I do like Jalen Warren, but Dylan Sampson, again, maybe he'll get some playing time like what Matt was saying earlier this week. Scadaboo, I think during the season at some point, maybe the guy. Ollie Gordon, which I want to talk about a little bit later in the show. Again, hopefully he's a little stronger at receiver than running back. And then the last one guy I have is Hell's Bells. He got Bijan, which is great. CMC, okay, as long as he's healthy, great. But then Joe Mixon may not play this year. Tyler Algier. I mean, what was he thinking there? So,
I mean, listen, this is why you got to stay locked in, even in the offseason. I mean, I remember when he got Joe Mixon for $2. I'm looking at my board right here, and that's $2 too many.
It's $2 too many. You're right.
I said at our first show of the season, I was out on Joe Mixon, and I planted my flag, and I said I do not think he plays a single game this year. And now that there's more talk of it, that there's more analysts and professionals who are coming with the same thing. I just think this injury that he has is something that they're going to have to monitor it. And for me, he's got 2 great running backs in Bijan and McCaffrey. I mean, he's also got Jamar Chase. He spent a lot of his money, of his $200 on those first 3 players that he got. Which, I mean, it's stars and scrubs. That's a great way to play. And then you kind of just like fill in your the rest of the spots with some guys who, just going to get you some points here and there. But yeah, I mean, just looking at as his draft, like Jaden Reed's got the foot injury. Godwin's going to be out for at least 4 to 6 weeks. Josh Downs is just coming back from an injury. Marvin Mims, he should be playing. But yeah, I mean, listen, no one's perfect in these drafts. I mean, you got to get value where you can. This is why I love auction, though. Like you said before, you get whatever guys you have. If you like, for me, my first pick that I nominated was Deontay Thornton. I think he's incredible. I know Matt was talking to me at during the draft. He thought that was a cheeky pick. I just think he athletically, like, there's going to be so many options. Defenses have to deal with Genty or Bowers. And Geno Smith, like, he's played with DK Metcalf for the last 6-7 years. So, Deontay Thornton, to me, like, he's 6'4". He runs a 4.2 40. Like, this guy is just an athletic freak. And I think, especially with Pete Carroll and having DK Metcalf for all those years, I think he's got his new DK. And I think that, I got him for $1. And there was guys in our draft who were going, who is this guy? What position does he play? But that's why you kind of just got to grind out and keep a good head on your shoulders and just do the research. And if you got your guys you like, you try to sneak them in and get them for cheap.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting thing about the heroes and scrubs. I've seen that play out before in this league. Matter of fact, very early on when we were doing auction, I think it was, remember Carmen, Matt, in the league. It might have been Carmen, whoever Brawlers was. Anyway, he spends 90% of his money on running backs 1 and 2, whoever they were at the time. Mm-hmm. And he had to sit the whole rest of the draft and take dollar players the rest of the way. I was like, he has no shot. And it played out exactly that way. I think he won like 3 or 4 games the whole year. So
yeah, listen,
I just don't agree with that. I think the more balanced approach might make more sense, at least to me. So what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, first to tackle the Deontay Thornton situation, I was targeting him to be my taxi squad guy. So when I heard him earlier, I was like, "Well, there he goes." And I didn't want to bid you up because I was like, he deserves it. That's a guy he deserves for $1. That's just a great pick. And again, it also just goes to show that just know your league, man. Like we play with some great guys for sure, but you can just go to show. It just goes to show who does the research and who doesn't. And when they're questioning who and what and where do they play, and it's just like, okay,
it makes it
to us. It's just like, well, I've been hearing about this guy every day at camp.
Yeah, listen, for the last 6 months, I've known this guy's name, right?
Right. Like they're looking at you funny, and you're looking at them right back. Like what?
Well, like Heisenberg nominated Alec Ayerman. I knew he was Tennessee wide receiver. Everyone was like, "Who the hell is that?"
Oh yeah,
like,
wow. That was the first one of the draft, and people were going, "Huh? Who's this guy? Is he?"
That was such a great nomination just for that. You knew right away who was ready and who wasn't. Man, that was kind of funny.
No, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I understand and I respect the hero RB strategy. I don't think it's the worst. It's not something I have done per se. I'd be willing to try it out maybe one year, but I don't know. I think it's just a lot more risky because I feel like you're losing out on great running backs that your team needs. Now, having said that, the teams we mentioned earlier with guys like who did we talk about? We talked about like Globo Gym with Gibbs. Like Gibbs is going to be a top back. I think we're all pretty confident about that. Like top 5, top 10 at least. And yes, he has Judkins. That's completely a coin flip. We'll see. Jordan Mason, I think he has a lot of upside. Tracy, I'm still a believer in Tracy, so we'll see what happens there. But he obviously lost opportunities of getting running backs, but at the same time, you only have to start 2 running backs at this league. So I think that's what people's mindset is at when they're like, okay, I only have to start 2 of these guys, so I can just buy. Like, let's talk about the receivers on that same team. He has George Pickens, Kevontae Turpin, Homer, T. Higgins, Travis Hunter, Jacoby Myers, Rashee Rice. So.
Listen, if Gibbs is healthy and Tracy, stays in that position, or Jordan Mason, stays healthy, or Quinton Junkins finally decides to play football this year and has a suspension and stuff, like that team on paper, that is a great team. Like
right,
if you're talking
absolutely.
hero running
The
back,
talent's there.
yeah, like it's he's got talent. He's got Rashee Rice waiting in the wings.
Mhm.
So he could have Travis Kelce in the beginning and then decide, all right, I'm going to pivot on Njoku. Maybe Mahomes takes off. But for me, I know he paid. Just looking at the board here, he paid money for Mahomes and Murray. Like that's something I've done before in the past, where I've gotten like Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, and I spent too much money on quarterback. It's not a super flex or anything like that. So if anything, I would have probably gave up on getting Kyler Murray and tried to spend more money elsewhere to get a guy who's, I don't know, maybe a little bit better than Jacoby Myers on his team. But I mean, looking at his team, if you had this team in redraft, you'd be pretty proud.
Mhm.
Like just looking at this, if you did a snake draft, the normal snake draft, this would be a pretty solid team. He's got some depth pieces at running back. For me though, I've been in the position where I had started Tank Bigsby last year in this league hundreds of times because guys got hurt and I just didn't have the depth where I needed it. So for me, like I can start 3 running backs and Tony Pollard's going to have to sit, or I can play matchups and sit James Conner and put in Tony Pollard and vice versa. But for me, it's just that's what worked this time, and that's where just I saw the value as the draft kind of unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely. And to touch on that, Joe Mixon, he was $2. What if we're all dumb? Like, what if he plays the whole year after the 4 weeks? Like, I listen. I like he had a decent year last year. I want to say he did miss a couple of games, but he after leaving the Bengals and joining that team with the Texans, he kind of resurged himself into playing some great football. So maybe that's the pick of the draft. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, listen,
it's a very low risk, high reward. I think we all know that was Hell's Bells.
The problem I see with it, I see what you're saying, and you might be right. We all may be, wow, we missed that one, but will he even be in it by the time Mixon comes back? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Remember, we only play till week 15 or 14.
Yep, that's right. 15
14, and 15's the playoffs. So
15, 16, 17's playoffs. Yeah,
right. So
but if he comes back week 5 and then plays the whole season and balls out, then he has a great shot.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
What if he goes 0-5 by the time?
And then what if he goes 10-0, 10-5?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Mixon's that.
Anything's possible.
Anything's
possible in this league. I've noticed that. But yeah, unfortunately, like every year in this draft, I tend to get my guys for a lot cheaper than I'm anticipating, and then I leave a lot of money left on the board, which happened again, unfortunately.
That's something
I've come to
especially
learn
with auction
to
draft.
try and invest. I gotta try. I guess I just have to invest in a lot more of my starters than my bench, because I feel like I'm more in my head about the sneaky guys on my bench than my starters, because there are guys I wanted, like Drake London, but he went for what was it, $40-something? I think it was like 47.
Drake London went for $47.
He went for $47. I was right. And I wanted him for 44. And I went up a little bit more just to make him pay that extra $3, but it just wasn't happening.
Listen, I'm having buyer's remorse. I was going up against someone on this podcast for Derrick Henry. I think you got him at $44.
Yeah,
I should have kept going. I really wanted him, man. I really wanted him.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
that's the thing. There's a price that I think we all are uncomfortable paying, and I think that's just what it is with this draft. Yeah. And
You're right.
I wasn't even thinking by the time I got Xavier Legette, but I was put it this way, I got it for $2, which again was not expecting that at all. I was expecting him to go for more than $2. plain and simple. And I kind of wanted someone else. And I didn't get that someone else because I got Xavier Legette. So, yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at the wrong value stuff because I mean, and even at that point in the draft, I had probably the most money, but I just didn't. Those were probably the two mistakes I think I made in that draft. I didn't pay enough for Drake London, and I got the wrong guy at the end there, but that's okay. All right. Are we ready to move on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure
Right.
thing.
Let's take this off and bring us back onto the screen. No. How do we? There we go. Okay, so now let's go into our DFS lineup of the week. Kamish, I hear you have something to say about this?
I do. As a matter of fact, on DraftKings, there is a Beat the Commish game. Okay, 20 participant max, $5 entry, winner takes all. And I will even let you know what my lineup is. So I'm giving everyone a leg to try to beat me, the Commish. I don't think it happens, but this is why we play. I went quarterback. Jalen Hurts, 7,100. Love the matchup against Dallas. I think he puts a hurting on him Thursday night. Chase Brown at 6,600. Total beast. Travion Henderson. I know Jeff was in love with him this week, but Travion Henderson, 5,500, I think is a steal. Igwabuka, 4,600. I know I killed his name there, but I think he's a great start. I talked earlier about Brian Thomas, Jacksonville, against Carolina, 6,800. Jameson Williams, 5,500. I think that's a dealio at 5,500. My tight end smash, TJ Hawkinson, 4,600. And my sleeper, Jerome Ford, for a measly 5,600. And to put it to bed, Arizona defense may not just get one, but maybe two defensive touchdowns this week for only $3,500. That's right. Beat the commission on DraftKings. See if you can beat it. That's right.
All right, Jeff. Who do you got?
So for me, I've got Trevor Lawrence, 5,300. Again, I'm trying to target these games with these weak defenses. I think Travis Hunter was just named. He's going to be starting as a wide receiver, and he's going to be a backup quarterback. So Trevor Lawrence is going to be going up against Carolina, whose defense is it's not really not much. I've also got Brian Thomas Jr. with that stack for 6,800. I think they're going to smash. My running backs, I'm going with James Conner for 6,100. Again, I love James Conner. I think he's going to have a great opportunity to really crush this week against the Saints defense that's just depleted. They've got nothing left. Kenneth Walker's at 5,900. I think that's going to be a smash start against San Francisco. He's healthy. Everything is pointing towards Kenneth Walker being the guy. They've got the right scheme in place. Taking advantage of that Cincinnati-Cleveland game, I've got T. Higgins for 6,400. I've also got the going the other way. I got David Njoku for 4,700 at the tight end. I love Drake London this week too against Atlanta. I think that's going to be a shootout. In the flex spot, I've got Ricky Pearsall for 4,500. Again, I'm trying to get that other opposite side of that Kenneth Walker pick. And then I'm going with the Broncos defense, 3,800. They're going up against Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee's going to have a very good day. And I think the Broncos, for me, not just fantasy-wise, but I think, just on the NFL level, they are the best, most complete defense across the board. And, that's what I'm rocking with this week. How about you, Matt?
All right. First off, you are listening to us on Cruising 92.1 WVLT Vineland, and you're listening to us live on YouTube. All right. My amazing, wonderful DFS lineup of the week is I also have Trevor Lawrence at 5,300. They play – who do they play? I'm blanking.
They're playing Carolina.
Thank you. They play Carolina. That is going to be a great game. I don't know. I like that. I like that game. I think Lawrence can put up some numbers. I think he's a great start this week. At running back, I have Derrick Henry at 7,200. I think that is a great Sunday Night Football game. Ravens Bills. I know it could be a total shootout, but I think Derrick Henry can totally get involved. So I'm going to start Derrick Henry at 7,200. I have Bucky Irving at 7,100 against the Falcons. I think he's a great smash start against that Falcons defense. So I am putting in Irving. At wide receiver, I got that sack. I got Brian Thomas Jr. at 6,800. I also have Drake London at 6,500. Then I have Emeka Egbuka at 4,600. Then at tight end, I have Colston Loveland at 3,800. I like that. I think the Bears can start off hot there. So let's go with Loveland. And my flex is Travion Henderson at 5,500. I think he can get involved in the passing game there. I believe they play the Raiders. So I think that's – I don't know. I think that's a good game for him to see what he's got. And I'm going with the Patriots defense at 3,100 against those Raiders. So, yeah, that's my DFS lineup of the week. Let's get into our sleepers and long shots. Who wants to go first?
I got an easy one for you guys, okay? You could take this to the bank, okay? It's a sleeper. It's a long shot. It's all wrapped up into one, okay? Got a pencil ready? Write this down. Devonta Adams, probably drafted as your WR3. Yes, he's going up against Houston. This week, he puts up WR1 numbers. The whole back situation with the QB, he's going to light him up, okay? And Devonta Adams is going to show why he's still a stud at wide receiver.
I'm going to go with J.J. McCarthy. I think it might take some time for him to develop. It's likely the Vikings aren't going to try to overload him in the early weeks of the season. But I think Kevin O'Connell, the guys he's had at quarterback play for him, not just Cousins, but Sam Darnold, the boy wonder of last year, kind of resurrecting his career. He's had Josh Dobbs behind there having great games. He's the sharpest quarterback whisperer in the league, and he's going to be consistently able to coax those YPAs from a motley crew of quarterbacks. And I think McCarthy's going to just be added to that list. Now he comes with more of a little bit of a pedigree. He was rated a prospect, or he was a rated prospect entering the University of Michigan in the 10th overall pick in the 24 draft. But they have a slew of established pass catchers and just added a Thielen. So, across the board, he's got a good offensive line. He's got Aaron Jones, who knows how to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's got Justin Jefferson on top of that. So I think he's going to have an incredible season. He's not a rookie per se, but for having his first season, I definitely think he's going to crush his ADP right now, which is around I think he's like the 122nd player off the board in most leagues. I think he's going to outscore that ADP. And I actually think this year he's going to be a top 12 quarterback. Where I'm at.
Wait, did you just say he's going to be a top 12 quarterback?
Top 12 quarterback.
I agree with you.
What is happening?
I agree. By the way, I got him for $1 in the auction league. Thank you very much. Okay. He's my stud quarterback. I love the pick. I'm glad you said it, not me. Okay. Excellent. Excellent job. That's why you're on the show. That's why you're the doctor. And we love you.
I don't know who's feeding you guys misinformation about J.J. McCarthy, but I just don't see it. I think I'll have a rookie year. That's the only way I can explain it. I think he will have a rookie season at quarterback. Will he do well? I hope he does. I think he's talented. Will he do? I don't think he'll do as what. I don't think he'll do what Sam Darnold did last year. That's my beliefs.
I agree
And
with you,
top
Matt, because
12
I
is-
think he does better.
Top 12.
But here's the thing: he does.
Oh,
Sam
crazy.
Darnold was the QB,
And I'm hearing
7.
it from other people, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Sam Darnold was the
Um,
QB 7 in PPR
So
last year.
first off, it also sounds like you guys went more sleepers in this section. I went with the long shot. Give me Elijah Moore on the Buffalo Bills Sunday Night Football against those Ravens. You got Khalil Shakir on the left. You got Keon Coleman on the right. You got Dalton Kincaid, maybe a little bit of Josh Palmer in the slot. I want Elijah Moore. He's going to be open, and I think he's the long shot for Week 1. So shout out to Elijah Moore. I hope he has a good season this year. He's on my dynasty team. All right. We have waiver wire pickups. I can start this one. I mean, we talked about the Cardinals defense earlier, but if you're streaming defenses, the defense to go get is the Cardinals defense. They're playing the Saints. Spencer Rattler starting. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And the Cardinals defense are pretty decent. So go pick them up. And Will Lutz, everyone, I don't know why. They play the Titans, so I guess that's why. But he's like a top 3 kicker this week. So I think in like most of my drafts, I picked up Will Lutz. And I did get the Cardinals defense in one draft. So I'm ready for Week 1.
Don't be such a Lutz. All right, I got a few very nice waiver pickups for you. How about Ollie Gordon, running back for the Miami Dolphins? He's the backup to Devon Achane, who has a calf injury. And this might give some opportunities for Mr. Ollie Gordon. He's a guy that may not have been drafted in every league. So if you have a open slot, if you're able to put someone on IR like or on your taxi squad, maybe you picked up Rashee Rice or Jordan Addison, and you move them and you have an opportunity to pick up a player, that's a guy that you possibly want to go get.
Ollie Gordon, 95% rostered on Sleeper.
Oh, yeah, but when you look at Yahoo, when you look at these other things, NFL, okay, Matt, we're not all in Sleeper, okay, seriously. Keaton Mitchell, okay, he's the backup to Derrick Henry. If he was to miss some time at 31 years old, Keaton Mitchell, who looked pretty explosive in the preseason, he's a guy you want to possibly pick up. And Woody Marks, okay, for the Houston Texans. Nick Chubb obviously is there. We're going to see. We'll see Week 1. I'm very curious to see because I'm a big Nick Chubb fan, but, man, he just wasn't himself last year after the big injury. Hopefully he's back. But they drafted Woody Marks. I think at some point he can end up being the guy there, in Houston. And then, we've talked about it already several times during the show, but if for some reason Jerome Ford was not drafted because, the Judkins talk or, like Dylan Sampson, the youth, Jerome Ford will be the starter and we'll put up some numbers at least until Judkins kind of gets going here.
For me, so a guy I've been looking at he's not being drafted right now in the drafts that I was doing. Cedric Tillman, he showed a lot of promise last year before that Week 12 concussion, which ended the season, and before that there was a stretch. He had 3 consecutive games with over 75 yards and 3 combined touchdowns. Now, granted, that was with the fantasy darling Jameson. I love Jameis. I think he's incredible. But right now he's penciled in as Cleveland's number 2. Deontay Johnson just got cut and let go, so I think he's got that solidified for him. He's entering his 3rd season, and he's going to see plenty of fantasy-friendly game scripts because the Browns are slated to lose almost every game this year. And with Joe Flacco behind center slinging the ball, I think he's just a nice pickup, a solid depth piece with potential to just emerge as a like a top 30 wide receiver option if the Browns were forced to play in those come-behind fashions on the regular. Another guy I liked coming out of college, Torrey Horton, Seattle Seahawks. He exited college with just a strong blend of everything: size, athleticism, production. He's 6'2", 196 pounds, and in 2022 he broke out as a sophomore for 78, 1,130 yards and 8 touchdowns at Colorado State. A knee injury derailed his 2024 season, but he returned to light up the combine. He had a 9.4 RAS score. So for those of you who don't know, that's very good, very good. There were questions about his knee, which caused him to drop to round 5 in the NFL draft. By all accounts, he's developed quickly this summer, and he's going to have a shot at just significant snaps. I mean, it's JSN, it's a declining Cooper Kupp, and it's Torrey Horton. Like, what's to say this guy, can't be the number 2 and Kupp fades into into the fantasy heavens. Another guy I'm looking at too. I talked about him earlier, Kendre Miller. Right now, there's been great talk about him. Kamara is just another year older. What if Kamara misses time? What if something happens? For the last 2 years, Kendre Miller has been pretty much a bust. He's been forgotten about, but it's a different coaching staff, different situation. And Kellen Moore, the new head coach, he's impressed. A quote from him, he says, Kendry's been just a steady the entire offseason. He's done a phenomenal job on the field, and he's just been consistent week in and a week out. He runs very hard. He's physical. Like, what more can you want a head coach to say about a guy who's one injury away from potentially having a starting job, and he's not rostered anywhere. So those are 3 guys I'm looking at. Again, it's week 1. So what I try to take into is just a consideration. You drafted the guys you drafted. If things change and you're dropping your guys that you picked up, just keep an eye out. Look at Twitter or X. Keep an eye on the injuries. Keep an eye on what's going on in coach speak and all that fun stuff. And just enjoy the ride, guys. Week 1 is here. What do you got for us, Matt?
Start all your birds, baby.
All right, that's going to do it for us here at the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Good luck week 1. We will see you back Tuesday at 8 p.m. for waiver wire night, which is really exciting.
Yes.
And as always, we'll be on Cruiser 92 WVLT Vineland Wednesday at 5. We will see you then. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Kick-Ass Fantasy Football Show. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter at KAF Football.